Hi. Ben with us from Abaz.org.
Hi, Hilary Benn. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Yeah. So we've gathered here today youth from around the world, representing NGOs from around the world, a vast coalition of NGOs, all of them representing their members, people around the world, all of their eyes turned to Bali. More than 2.6 million people have signed petitions urging action on climate change. And today, all of us are here urging government leaders like Minister Benn to move to a breakthrough, an agreement here at Bali that can fight climate change and avert a climate crisis around the world. Mr. Benn, by joining us here, we hope that you will carry this message in to the other ministers at these negotiations and urge them to not accept a deadlock so that all of us can hear when you come out what's been done, what's been agreed upon from the governments of the world to change the face of the climate crisis.
Okay, can I say a word?
Yes,
can I just come out here? Can I thank you very much indeed for coming here today. You represent the future, and you are going to be running the world. You and your classmates and your friends are going to be running the world when all of us who are in the conference room trying to reach an agreement today are dust in the ground. You are the future. But we have a responsibility to make sure that we pass on to you a future that is sustainable. Now, I've been in this job as Environment Secretary now for 6 months in the United Kingdom. And even in that time, when I reflect upon how public understanding of climate change and the threat that it presents to us is changing, is developing, is growing. And talking to two of you here today, you've told me how the same is happening in your schools and in your communities. Why is that the case? Because the science is now very clear. I am not a scientist, but I read the reports, you read the reports. And the truth is, the two greatest challenges we face in the world are one, to overcome the gap between rich and poor, and the second is to live within the Earth's capacity to accommodate 6 billion of us currently, and by the middle of this century there could be 9 billion human beings on this small and fragile planet of ours. And we currently consume the Earth's resources as if we had another 2 planets tucked away in the cupboard to draw upon. We don't. We have just the one planet, and we have to live within its capacity to sustain our activity. And as part of that, we have to reduce CO2 and greenhouse gas emissions, because if we do not, what the scientists are telling us, and it's a very hot day here in Bali, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's getting hot.
And it's getting hotter.
And it's getting hotter.
And you're helping to raise the temperature. But climate change is not just an environmental problem. It's also a security problem, it's a migration problem, it's an economic problem, it's a political problem. Because if temperatures rise, and that has the consequence that the scientists are warning us about, 3 simple questions. What are we going to do as a world when human beings start to fight each other, not about politics, but about availability of water? What are we going to do when people turn up on our shores, wherever it is we live in the world, because they're fleeing not political persecution, but environmental catastrophe? Last year I went to a town called Wajid in Somalia. It's a small, dusty town. 6 months earlier, 11,000 people had turned up and pitched camp next to the town. And they lived in these shelters that they'd made from bent-over twigs. I talked to one woman. She'd covered her shelter with bits of plastic, cardboard, scraps of cloth that she had stolen from the town rubbish bin. Why had she and 11,000 other people come to Wajid to live? Because it had stopped raining where they had been living. For 6 months, their lives had been put on hold by climate change. And they were waiting for the rain to fall again to see whether they could go back to plant a harvest and to return to their lives. The truth is, the poorest people on this planet of ours are already feeling the consequence of a changing climate. And it's for all of those reasons that we have a responsibility to take the right decisions in there. Now, we've been working very hard over the last few days. We're now at a crucial moment in the negotiations, and I can assure you, in direct answer to the question that you put to me, that myself, the colleagues with whom I am working, have already taken in to those negotiations the argument that we must respond to the science, and above all in Bali, achieve something we've never ever achieved before, which is to get all of the nations of the world to say, we will now embark on a process of negotiation to be completed in 2 years' time, to give us a new deal to help us deal with the threat of global climate change. We've never had that before. Some countries have done things, other countries have not. And that is the real responsibility that we have. And from the session I've just come, there were 2 or 3 speeches by ministers who expressed in equally forceful terms exactly what you have expressed to me here this afternoon, that this is a historic opportunity. And we have a very, very simple choice, and this is my final point, a very simple choice as a world. Either we accept the responsibility that we, this generation, of whatever age, have to act, or your generation and the generations that will follow, my grandchildren and my great-grandchildren, who have not yet been born, will look back at us at this moment in history and they will say, what on earth did you think you were doing? And if we take that spirit into the continuing negotiations, which I shall be going back into shortly, and if we can get the right deal, we could take a big step forward together on the path of tackling global climate change. And one of the reasons that we're in there, one of the reasons that we feel the pressure and the expectation is because of the efforts that you, your colleagues, your friends, and all of the organisations that you represent are putting upon us. Because the more we see that people like you and others care about this and want their elected representatives to respond, the better chance we have of achieving it. Thanks for your petition. Thanks for coming. Keep it up. All the best.